This happened during my early 20s. I used to live in a small home with a group of 3 other guys. We all didn't really know each other before moving in together, but we had gone to the same college and graduated at the same time. So with all of us looking for somewhere to live afterward, it all just kind of fell into place. Splitting the rent 4 ways, we were able to afford a relatively small house on the more rural outskirts of the city. Everything closer was a bit too expensive. All went well for the first 9-ish months, but pretty suddenly, 2 of the guys decided to move out, leaving just me and KJ. Unfortunately, KJ was the only one of the 3 that I didn't really talk to that much. He was always working, or getting home late, or just not wanting to hang out with the rest of us, so it kinda sucked that it was the other 2 that left. It also meant we had to pay double between each of us. This wasn't something we could keep up, and agreed that at the end of the lease in 3 months, we would go our separate ways and leave the house. For the first month after the 2 left, it became really apparent how absent KJ was. On my days off, I was often at home just chilling all day and night by myself, which was very different from when the other 2 lived here. I didn't care too much. If anything, it was great having the place all alone, but I did think it was odd he was out for so long all the time. He only worked part-time in the mornings, but I figured he must have been out with friends all night every night. However, one night I happened to stay up a little later than usual. I was sitting in my room, and it was maybe about 1 a.m. when I saw headlights shine through my window, pulling down the gravel driveway. When I heard the front door open, I got up and for some reason felt like saying hi, just to keep things from getting too distant and awkward between us. I opened my bedroom door, but was kind of startled as I heard his footsteps begin rushing down the hallway. When I stuck my head out, he jumped, like I'd caught him in the act of something. The lights were off in the hallway, so I couldn't see him too well, but I could see that his eyes were wide and his body was frozen just outside of his bedroom door. "What's up, KJ? Just seeing how you're doing," I said to break the silence. The way he just stood there in the dark hallway with his wide open eyes and looked at me was kind of chilling. "I'm good." There were another few seconds of silence before I just nodded and stepped back into my room. Well, that definitely didn't help make things any less awkward between us. Why was he acting so strange, hurrying to his room and all? I didn't want to be nosy, but it kinda had me concerned. After a couple minutes, I opened my door carefully and quietly walked down the hallway. I just wanted to listen for a second as I passed by his room, and nothing more. But when I did, I heard him moving around frantically, like he was opening and closing drawers chaotically. It was so odd that I stopped walking for a second and leaned a bit closer to his door. The chaos continued, making me feel really uneasy, until it suddenly went quiet. Everything stopped, like he just froze. As the seconds started to go by, I got increasingly more uneasy and wanted to get out of that hallway. But before I could even move, the door suddenly swung open. KJ stood in the doorway with the same wide open eyes as before, staring right at me. In an effort to cover for myself, I said I was just heading to the kitchen and asked if he wanted anything. KJ quietly muttered no, then closed the door on me. It was honestly really creepy and only made me feel more like something was going on with him. I went into the kitchen to follow through with what I said, then went back to my room. He was quiet for the rest of the night. For the next probably 5 or 6 days, I found myself more attentive to what KJ was up to. I'd stay up until he got home, always feeling too uncomfortable to sleep until I knew he was in his room and up to nothing. During those days, he remained in that disturbing, almost zombie-like state that he was in that one night. His eyes grew increasingly more restless every day, and he spoke no more than a couple words, always hurrying into his room. Until one night after he got home, and as I was in bed trying to sleep, a knock came from the other side of my door. It scared me. I never heard him walk down the hallway to my room. I got up and opened the door. He had that same look with restless eyes, but had a partial smile as well. He mentioned that he just got home and thought he dropped his wallet somewhere out in the driveway as he was walking up to the door, asking if I had a flashlight and would help him find it real quick. I found it strange, like he'd never asked anyone for help before, or really to do anything with him. Although I thought it was odd and I was tired, I thought maybe this was a chance to make things better, so I grabbed a flashlight and followed him out to the driveway. He started up some small talk, just asking about work and stuff, as we started walking on the gravel and looking around. I noticed almost right away that his car was parked really far down the driveway though, like all the way at the end, for seemingly no reason. So if he walked all this way, we had to do the same to look for his wallet. We got all the way down to his car, and I never spotted anything on the ground, but then he started leading me away from the car. I was still shining the light around, but realizing there was no reason his wallet should be way out here away from the driveway, I asked what we were doing. KJ took a few seconds to respond, like he was thinking, before saying he went for a short walk out here earlier, so he could have dropped it. But I didn't really believe him. He kept trying to lead me further from the driveway and deeper into the woods. Every time I said we should turn back, he would repeatedly try to convince me otherwise. It got really suspicious really fast. I felt my nerves building up. "Here, you could take the flashlight. I'm gonna head back to the house. I gotta be up early for work tomorrow anyway," I said as I tried to hand over the flashlight to him and make my exit. He didn't take it though. His clearly fake smile faded, and his restless eyes looked more than disappointed. He looked angry. He didn't respond, but the tension was making me really uneasy. After a few seconds, I turned around and started quickly walking away from the woods. I looked back a couple times, seeing KJ just standing there and watching me. As soon as I got to the house, I started packing. I didn't know what that was, but I didn't feel safe with him at all. I didn't sleep the whole night, listening to make sure KJ wasn't up to anything else. But he never came back to the house that night. In the morning, I got everything important stashed into my car and left. Even years later, I never heard anything from KJ or figured out what was going on. His behavior wasn't normal, and I honestly think he was planning to do something horrible in the woods that night.